Yay! We made it to our absolute last week of pre-algebra. I'm so proud of you guys. You've had to do this online and you haven't had the opportunity to be in the classroom to do this, and you guys have done just fantastic. So here's our last thing to learn in algebra to move you on to middle school. Yay! We're going to be learning how to combine like terms to solve multi-step problems. Now, you may be asking, as you read the title, what exactly is a like term? We've talked about like terms a little bit when we actually were in class, but let's go over them again. Here's some examples of like terms. 3x, 14x, 8x. Those are like terms. Here's some more like terms. 12b, 4b, 19,438b. Those are like terms. Now, here are some unlike terms. 5t, 61x. Those are unlike terms. Can you guess why those are unlike terms? Sure, I'm sure that you can see the pattern by now, as a like term is something that has a variable that is the same. In algebra, we only combine like terms. We don't combine unlike terms. Now, you may be wondering about that word combine. What does that word combine mean in algebra? Well, I'm glad you asked. Well, how do we combine our like terms? We combine like terms by using the basic rules that we learned with integers and adding and subtracting, multiplying and dividing integers. Let's take a look at some of my examples. 3x plus 2x equals 5x, because we know that when we have positive plus a positive, we get a positive. Let's look at the next one. Negative 9x plus 5x equals negative 4x. A negative plus a positive gives us a negative. Negative 9x plus 12x equals 3x. We can see as we look at the coefficients that negative 9 plus 12 gives us 3, and we just carry over the x. Here's our last one. Negative 2b minus 5b equals 7b. Remember, because our negative turns into a negative and we add them when we do subtraction. This should be very familiar to you. Let's look at this one and see if we can combine this equation. 3x plus 4c equals, we can't combine those because they are not like terms. Remember, we're only combining like terms. Our first step is to combine like terms. We have to try to keep the variables on the left-hand side of the equation if you can. That's always helpful. So let's take a look at our original problem. 9x minus 87 minus 4x equals 53. The first thing we have to do is identify what are our wonderful like terms. As we look at this problem, we can see that our 9x and our negative 4x or our minus 4x are our two combined like terms. So as we think about what 9x minus 4x is equal to, we think that it equals 5x. So we're going to kind of take those out of the equation and combine those so that they make just one component, 5x. We didn't do anything to the 87. We just left it that way. We left everything lined up like we did last time, and we just carried over our 53. Because again, our first step is just to combine the like terms. You ready for the second step? Now, our second step is something that you should be very familiar with, that we've been doing for weeks now, and it's following the two rules of algebra. What you do to one side of the equation, you must do to the other, and you have to isolate the variable, remembering to line up the equal sign. So as we looked at our problem continuing, we had 5x minus 87 equaling 53. After we combined our like terms, our new equation had that 5x in it. Now, as we look at this, we have to think about our two rules of algebra for our second step. We notice that we had a negative 87, and so in order to get that variable isolated or by itself, we have to add 87 because we had a negative. And of course, following our rules of algebra, if we do that to something to the left side, we've got to do it to the right side. So we added 87 to both sides. As we then took a look at our equation, negative 87 plus 87 came to 0, so we just carried the 5x over. 53 plus 87 equals 140, and from there we can solve for x, knowing that x became 28. All right, it's time for the you try it. Negative 4x plus 15x minus 70 equals 128. Copy down the problem, work through the steps, and then we'll go over them together. Don't skip this part. It's really important. This is the part where you would be sitting at rectangle table or maybe with your dry erase board, and we would be working on the problems together. Working on the problems as you learn something helps you remember how to do it well. So pause that video. All right, let's see what we got. Our negative 4x plus 15x minus 70 equals 128. We noticed as we looked at that equation that our negative 4x and our positive 15x were like terms. We right away knew that we had to combine those terms. We left the negative 70 equals 128 by itself. So as we look at negative 4x plus 15x, we know that we get 11x. We put that down, making sure that we line up the equal signs. We kept our negative 70 and our 128 as it is. So our new equation became 11x minus 70 equals 128. As we looked at that equation, we noticed that we had a negative 70 there, and to isolate the 11x, we had to do what? We had to add so that we could get that variable by itself. We added positive 70 to the left, so because we have to do to one side, we have to do to the other, we had to add positive 70 on the other side. Our new equation then became 11x because positive 70 and negative 70 became 0. We added 128 to 70, and that became 198. Now we're left with a very simple problem. 11x equals 198, which we could easily solve for x to be 18. All right, one more you try it, and then we're done. Negative 83 plus 12x minus 5x equals 22. Pause the video, work the problem, and we'll go over the steps together. As we look at our problem, negative x plus 12x minus 5x equals 22, we can see that our like terms are positive 12x and negative 5x. We know that we have to combine them because that's our first step. We left the negative 83 as it is, and we combined negative 12x minus 5x to get positive 7x. We lined up our equal sign and left our 22 on the right-hand side of the equation. As we looked at this new equation that we have, negative 83 plus 7x equals 22, thinking about how we can isolate or keep that x on the left-hand side, we look at our negative 83. What can we do to that negative 83 to get rid of it so that we can have that x, that isolated variable by itself? Well, we can add 83. And remember, what we do to one side, we have to do to the other. So on the left side, as we added 83, we had to do it to the right side as well. Negative 83 plus 83 cancel each other out, left us with just 7x. As we added 22 and 83, we got 105, making sure that we lined everything up so our equal signs are all lined up and our variables all lined up. Our new equation became 7x equals 105, which we could easily solve by dividing to know that x equals 15. All right, if you're ready to go for your worksheets, there's also a study guide that's up that you can take notes with as you have watched the video, or you can take notes on the side and review it. If you need to review, remember the video is always there for you to watch as many times as you like. Go ahead. Good luck, guys.